All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Satanic Warlock, Black Pope, or former Black Pope now. I am now a Magister Templi within the Embassy of Lucifer. My order became a part of them this past Sunday afternoon. Basically, it's an offshoot of the Church of Lucifer. And today I'd like to discuss Satanic witchcraft, as in the truths of what Satanism and satanic sorcery is about. Today I was on Facebook just a little bit ago, checking my messages, and again, I've seen an individual, or I should say, I saw an individual who had applied to a group that I am an admin in. And all this individual's answers to the questions that were put up by the group's admin, or I should say the owner of the admin, or the group itself, was pretty good up until the last question. What do you expect to gain from the group, as in Satanism in general? The individual replied, power and fame. Power and fame. This seems to be a recurring feature in today's world when it comes to Satanism. And unfortunately, this is sad because of the fact that Satanism is not about power. It is not about fame or money. And a lot of people get into Satanism because they believe that it will bring them riches, that it will bring them power and make them feared. When in fact, this is what Anton Zandalove referred to as the bad guy badge. Okay? In this case, it is more about, look at me, I'm a Satanist. Okay? I'm what everybody should fear. This is not Satanism. It is not playing the bad guy badge to the church. Satanism in general has nothing to do with the Judeo-Christian church. A lot of people go out and buy books on Satanism, unaware that there are individuals out there who are Christians writing books on Satanism, writing books about Satanism and what it's like to be an ex-Satanist or an ex-witchcraft practitioner. Most of these individuals have never stepped foot into the inner sanctum of a satanic ritual or ceremony. Most of these individuals, unfortunately, are claiming to be what they are not. One prime example is John Ramirez. He's always been a Christian. Every single time he's been on YouTube or doing some form of newscast, he is proclaimed to be something that he is not. This is the first video that I saw of him was that he claimed to be an ex-Palo Mayombe practitioner, an ex-Santeria practitioner. He got into Santeria at a young age around the time his father supposedly was murdered, before getting into Palo Mayombe. And then he met a girl and got married and went into Christianity. This is what he proclaims. But yet, when you get into other videos of his, he claims to be an ex-Satanist. He claims to be an ex-Brujo. Okay? He claims a lot of things. But yet, he shares nothing about what these paths have to offer. And this is what separates fakes from the real deal. Those of us who actually practice these arts know that it is not a child's game. The beings that we work with, that we call upon, are very real. And they guide us in ways that are really spectacular. For an example, a while back, I ended up needing to call on the Nine Kings, specifically that of the three top kings. I'm talking Boleth, Belial, and Piamon. Okay? These three kings are incredible at the art of persuasion, persuading men's minds. The next three are more of knowledge. Okay? Zagon, Corzon, and most, or Persian, I mean to say. And then you have Vining. Okay? These three are knowledge base. Okay? But then you have the last three, Asmodeus. Okay? Baal, or Baal, depending on the spelling and the age that he was in. Okay? Has different spellings from Baal to Bael. Okay? So you have to pay attention to that as well. Okay? So a lot of these beings have certain things that going on. I called upon Piamon, Boleth, and Belial because of what the nature of the request was. I needed their help on a spiritual level in this area. So I went to go deal with this issue, and everything went in my way. I could have spent over $2,000, almost $2,000, and I could have ended up someplace where I didn't want to be for 6 months to a year. But the only thing I had to dish out was $625. Nothing else. These individuals help you out. They teach you, they guide you. And they ask for nothing in return. You give free offerings, such as blood sorcery from your own self. You know, take a needle, 3 drops of blood. Good way to give back to them. Free. It recharges them, rejuvenates them, allows them to feel like they're alive again. But here's the thing. A lot of people are seeking fame and fortune. When they talk about power in books, such as Alistair Notch, okay, this is the most humblest theistic Satanist I have ever come across. Okay, he's got 8 books out. 8 books. And I hear that he's actually working on a 9th. And I can't wait to get my hands on it if he does have that coming out. This man has such in-depth knowledge. You can find his blog right here on YouTube, or you can find his page on Facebook. And if I'm not mistaken, he may even have Instagram. Most practitioners do these days. When he talks in his blog, you connect to it. You can feel the power radiating from the words that he's saying. It is not about blind faith. It is not about leading somebody. It's about your personal growth. Aleister Crowley wrote in the Book of Lies, he said, knowledge is through experiment, not by asking questions. Okay? Now, what's interesting about this phrase is that so many people go to other practitioners and ask questions that they should already know the answers to. Okay? For an example, what is it about Satanism that makes you attracted to it? What is it that you expect to get out of it? Okay? Don't say power and fame, because it's not going to get you very far. Satanism is about you. the individual. That's Bella, by the way. Satanism is about knowledge. It is about experimentation with the arts, the practices. It's about self growth. It's about bettering your, as in you, as the individual. Okay? It's about making your world better. You can utilize black magic, such as herbalism, to gain more money. You can send out energies to teach somebody a lesson that's been messing with you. You don't have to resort specifically to curses, even though sometimes it is necessary for you to curse someone. Most importantly, a lot of people will put adversities between you and them. The only limitations that are placed are what you place on yourself. And this is what I want to get into right here, the main things. Okay? Adversities and divisions. You look at most of the orders, temples that are out there. You look at most of the religious sects, no matter what path that's out there. Most of these individuals limit themselves. They bring themselves into enclosed areas with a specific set of doctrine. This may be a religion in the government's eyes, but it doesn't make it a religion. It doesn't make it a philosophy. You, as the individual, make it a philosophy. You make it a religious movement by what you practice, how you present yourself, how you carry yourself in public. A lot of people, like I said, put diversity between you and them. My son's mother, her mother has attacked me numerous times, attacked my religion, my faith, all because she is a Baptist and that is the way she was brought up. That is what she believes. But yet, as a hypocrite, she goes against the very doctrine that she swears by, just like most Christians. But then you have Satanists doing the exact same thing. Atheistic Satanists, for an example, claim to be devil worshippers, doing black magic while professing the fact there is no God, there is no Satan, that you as an individual are a God. The only thing that would make you a God is that you are a master of your world, your little surrounding, your home, your job, what you do for a living. If you create with a woman and you bear and you end up having a child, you in fact are a God because you created that child. Okay? But does that make you a God of a universe? Does that make you a God of the multiverse? The answer is no. Okay? And this is where a lot of people end up getting things wrong. Okay? Number one, most people, when they pick up LaVey's Bible, pay attention to it. They read it. They literally start living it. But they don't take it to heart. They don't break it down into what it actually means. Okay? For an example, Satanists will say, well, I'm a God. There is no God. There's no devil. There's no Satan. I am Satan. Therefore, I'm God. Well, how do you explain the Enochian keys? The last verses of them, for an example. Be friendly unto me, for I am the same, a true worshiper of the highest and infallible King of hell. Okay? In the book of Leviathan, you have the invocation to Satan. In the book of Lucifer, you have what a Satanist is. It is a doctrine that literally expands a philosophy. Just in the book of Lucifer. When you go into the book of Satan, he's telling you what he is. So therefore, when we look at LaVey's Bible, the first half of the Bible is a philosophical path to follow. The second half, on the other hand, is left open to interpretation. Therefore, you as the individual has to decide, is it worth following? And what you get out of it. When you read the pages, what do you derive from it? But LaVey's Bible is not the only satanic Bible out there. For an example, Reverend Cesar 999 has the Satanic Bible as well. It is a vampiric Bible, okay, from the vampire church, the Satanic Vampire Church. Okay, now this guy, I don't really take much stock in because of the fact that he blasphemies everything. He hates everything that is not his little domain. And that's all he teaches throughout that entire Bible. In one hand, he's teaching you a little bit about his beliefs. But in most of that Bible, he's attacking everybody from the Joy of Satan to the Brotherhood of Satan to the Church of Satan. Bam, right out there. Okay? But now I hear he's actually got some other works that are out now. Now, I haven't personally read the other works, so I can't really speak to those ones. I can't tell you if they're better or worse. Because after reading the Bible, well, that basically ruined that entire experience for me. But a lot of people try to force their way on others. And that's the moral of the point. The moral point here. You cannot force your beliefs on anyone else. This is not Christianity. We're not here to be liked. We're not here to be popular. Satanism in itself is about you. Knowledge is power. Having wisdom is power. Having the understanding of the doctrines is power. Therefore, the hidden gnosis is revealed by what you study. Okay? Now, some people, they really don't go too far back in history. For an example, Satan's Bible by Reverend or Dr. Robert Fries. Now, I know this guy, and I've known him for a few years now. Now, a lot of people really don't like him, namely because of the fact that how should I say this? He tends to attack a lot of people on his Dark Tower page. But on the other hand, it's also said that he's been in a lot of lawsuits. Okay. And one of the biggest things he's known for is attacking the founders of a satanic foundation who are now members of the Ancient Church of God. Okay. This does not mean they are a Christian organization. It just means that they are following a lot of the old texts and trying to get to the truths, the hypnosis of what was beforehand. Okay. Now, Robert Fries, okay, wrote a Bible called Satan's Bible. All right. Now, although this is a good, unique viewpoint, a lot of people that have read it have basically said it's nothing more than a porno. Literally, it's a porno type book. Now, I didn't read the whole thing through because I got about halfway through, and there's a lot of misspelled words, but a lot of it just seemed like, well, sexual in nature. But I've also gone through his research that he has provided, okay, so I can understand where he's gotten that from. He believes that Tiamat is Satan, okay? Tiamat is actually a 10th century deity known in the Necronomicon as the Dragon of Chaos. Okay, she's the mother of all demons, of all primordial and abyssal beings. Okay, but in Amy Davidson's Dictionary of Demons, including the names of the demons, there's a small little proverb about Tiamat, which states that she was Leviathan's mate, and that God feared that if they had children, that mankind's days would be limited. Now, this kind of goes along with Genesis chapter 6, with the angels having relations with the daughters of men. And both of these two stories can go back to the Enema Elish, but most importantly, the Book of Enoch. Okay, but it's not just here that we see this. We also see it in the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically the scroll of Amram, the duality between good and evil. We also see this same duality within many other texts, such as the Jewish Haggadah, the Mishra, and the Talmud. Okay, you can even see the things of gods versus mankind within the Book of Tobit. Okay, these are a lot of ancient texts that you can find for yourself, both in book form. You may, if you find it in book form, like on eBay or Amazon, you're going to be paying some big bucks for this stuff. So, I mean, you can actually go under and get it out of Scribd for pretty cheap. And it's a good sized PDA. And a lot of these you can actually find in off Google. Just type it in under PDF format or free PDF format, and you can actually get a lot of them for free. And they're just basically dubbed down, but you can find them, and that's a main point here. You don't have to take my word for it; just do it yourself. Excuse me. Anyways, but then you also have books on by other people. For example, Turk's Edge has the Demonic Bible. This book is based off Aleister Crowley's work with Thelema, but also demonolatry. And a lot of it is done with invocation, a little bit of rituals, actually a lot of rituals, but most of the book, at least half of the book is to 3/4 of the book is rituals of invocations, calling on these beings, getting to know them. And you can take your time with them. Take about a month or two, just work with one of them and then go on to the next and the next and the next. Or you can break it down into 3 nights and do all these rituals in 3-night settings, or you can do it in one time setting. But it's up to you as the individual practitioner. But then you got what I refer to as the TST Bible. Now, it's not really a Bible. It is basically a bunch of doctrine about their belief system. And this book is actually pretty good for a read. Now, keep in mind, I'm still reading it, and I'm about halfway through. It's mostly unique, but at the same time, they're using a lot of doctrine from other things, such as Arabic languages. You're also dealing with things from biblical stuff. And that seems to be another common thing around here, is because of the fact that a lot of these followers that are writing books are taking things from a Christian point of view. Satanism has nothing to do with Christianity. But let's go into Luciferian witchcraft. Specifically, the Adversarial Bible by Michael W. Ford. This book I've read numerous times, and it is spectacular. It is about the masks, and each mask being a representation of something going on in your specific life. And it is about, in some aspects, serving Lilith and Lucifer, but it also goes back to ancient Arabic. It also goes into demonolatry, it goes into rituals. But the biggest thing is it's about enlightenment, it's about knowledge, it's about knowing yourself. And that's one thing I like about Michael W. Ford's work. Okay? Between him and Turk Suzich, very good books. Now, one of the most unique Bibles that I have come across for Satanism is Traditional Satanism Bible. And it's called Tentatio Diabolis. And this is a three books in one. Okay? You can also get it in individuals as well. Now, the first one, the Bible aspect, is called the Devil's Bible. And it's by Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus. Okay? Very good book. It goes truer for Satanism in my book. Okay? In my unique opinion. Because of the fact that not only does it get away from the Christian point of views, but it sets the record straight. The way Satanism should be and what it actually is. And through my own research, my own studies, this Bible literally and figuratively goes with it. The second part of this book is called The Devil's Disciples. And it basically sets forth a philosophical viewpoint for the adept or the neophyte, the acolyte, to create your own organization, which is basically similar to that of the ONA, the Order of the Nine Angles. Another great satanic sect that has been around a very, very long time and goes back before LaVeyan Satanism. Okay? There's even rumors that the ONA is actually dates back to the 18th and 17th century, but unfortunately, I can't prove that myself. And I can tell you that there are hints back in the 17th century of the ONA rituals, the ONA practices. Some link it to the Hellfire Club out of England, which is actually an 18th century organization that is said to still exist today in some aspects. Now, what I find interesting about the Devil's Disciple is it literally fits. Okay, it's a good path to set up your own organization and lead it. Okay, whereas the third part of the book, The Devil's Coven, this is more of a, I guess you could call it a final talking, a final saying. You know, the finishing touches of the proverbial cake, where it discusses the points much in the same way as the 21 satanic points would do. Okay, so this Bible here, you can get all three of these books in Tentatio Diabolis right on Amazon or eBay. You can even go to Lulu Publishing or lulu.com and get them from there. I happen to be friends with the author. Well, the author's friends, I should say. One of which is one of the publishers. Well, two of which actually are the publishers from that. From the Cathedral of the Black Goat. Very awesome guys to work with and very awesome guys to get to know. The other one, like I said, is the ONA stuff, and that deals with planetary. It deals with the solar aspects. It deals with demonolatry and alchemy and herbalism and a whole bunch of wide range stuff. I do recommend that. Now, as for actual practices of witchcraft, especially that of satanic witchcraft, this is what you're going to get into. Anytime you try to experiment publicly, someone's always going to get butthurt. And they're going to attack you. They're going to try to slander you. And part of that is due to the adversarial aspects, the bad guy badge. Okay? Now, the question is, are you going to let these morons keep you down, or are you going to rise like the phoenix? Become more. Because I'm going to tell you right now that in satanic witchcraft, you don't just have the microcosm, which is the small god, which would be you. You have the macrocosm, which is the big god, as in Satan, Lucifer, as in Orion, or Azazel, or even Samael. Okay? The Red Book of Appian is the only grimoire I've come across that has Samael and Lilith as being the head of the underworld. Okay? As in hell. Most grimoires for the last 1,000 years state that it's Lucifer, dating back all the way back to the Grand Grimoire. Okay? Whereas most of the texts refer to Satan. Most of them. Okay? We'll talk about Satan. Satan is a Grigori, a watcher angel. He's a king, a prince. The first image or the first depiction of him that has ever shown up in history is in the 10th century, the late Dark Ages, of him standing on Mount Hinnom, with his giant black wings stretched outward. Okay? Every order of angels hanging from him. Lucifer, on the other hand, is an archangel. An archangel, a lesser grade angel. Second family. Archangels are warriors. They're meant to fight. Lucifer is known as the morning star, a Roman deity. Roman deity created by the Vatican. The Vatican. Now, much of the depictions of Lucifer from Isaiah 14:12 says, "How thou hast fallen, Lucifer, son of the morning." What is the first star that you see in the morning? The answer is Venus. Venus is a feminine archetype. Not masculine, but feminine. In the Necronomicon, the Mad Arab specifically states that between January and February of the year, in the zodiac of Aquarius, Venus disappears in the west, but rises in the east. And this is where the air of enlightenment comes into. Ephesians, for an example, chapter 2, verses 1 and 2, connects Lucifer to the air of enlightenment. Okay? And a lot of today's people who believe that they are gods, such as the atheistic Satanists, they literally have gotten this from Genesis chapter 3, verse 5, which clearly states that God does fear that once you have eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that you shall become as gods, knowing good and evil. Okay? And this is what separates you as a Satanist from the rest of the world. You're not buying into the bullshit of the world. You've basically risen above the world. You've left diversities and adversities behind. And you started learning for yourself. You start growing and learning and maturing within your particular art. You take Satanism and you make it your own. You take the witchcraft aspects and you make it your own. You experiment with it. And again, we've come right around to Crowley. Okay? The macrocosm and the microcosm. Solar, universal, multiversal aspects. Think of magic, specifically satanic magic, as an onion. When you master one level, you tear it back, much like Lucifer does or Satan does with the veil. Okay? When you step into that world, that bigger world, you're announcing to the universe, I'm ready. I'm ready for that next step. So that veil comes back. Now you're on a whole nother level. Now you have to study. Now you have to practice. You have to experiment and apply it to your life. This is what makes you a threat to the world. This is what makes you powerful. This is where power comes into play. I have personally gone toe to toe with Baptists, Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, Apostolics, and Pentecostals. And I've walked away victorious. Why? It is because I've done my research. It's because I've studied the material. I've broken it down and I went into all the references. I didn't just stick to one. You can sit there and dig into, say, the Bible, the King James Bible. But where did these sources come from? All the names that are mentioned in them: Moloch, Babylonian, Azazel, Akkadian, Sumerian, Satan, Hebrew, Lucifer, Roman. You see the difference here? They're not all one area. Not all one area. And you can actually follow the way Christianity spread outward from a single origin, conquering as they went. And you see where the gods became demonized. Those that were once worshipped and held in high regard are now devils. I wonder how long it's going to be before Jesus Christ is actually a devil. I mean, from what I understand from Christianity viewpoints, they're getting away from the masculine aspects as we speak. And this is just through my own studies into their aspects. You can see where this is going. Catholics worship Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ. So you see where I'm going with this? They're going away from the masculine. Much in the same way as Wiccan and paganism put women in charge of religious orders, such as covens. There's a group right here in Maine that is called the Pagan Pride Association. There's another group here called the Temple of Feminine Divine. Men cannot even lead these two orders. They can't even rise to any rank because only the priestess can run these organizations. But if you question them, you become dubbed a warlock. And here we go again with another misinterpretation of a term. A warlock in today's world means oathbreaker, betrayer, evil. But yet, if you go back in the day, it is simply another name for a practitioner. It is held in the same regard as sorcerer, witch, magus, sage, mage, wizard. It's just another practitioner. But people don't do their homework. They accept established normalities and they don't question. And people are going downward, knowledge wise. The world claims to be going in knowledge, growing with these new ways of doing mathematics or whatever. But yet, if you look at the districts and the average account of grade averages, they are down 20%, if not more. Now, you take somebody that graduated in 98, they're smarter than today's. Why? Because they delved with books instead of computers. You go back 150 years, they're smarter than those who graduated in 98. Why? Because they didn't have that type of schooling, that type of knowledge. Those back 150 to 200 years ago, they were out there doing this stuff. They were learning from their fathers, their mothers, their employers. You want experience? Get on a ship and learn how to sail. Learn by doing. But a lot of the grimoires were created by those of the church. Because most of these grimoires that were written was literally created by monks. Because if you look at the era in which they were created, the only people who had that kind of knowledge of how to read and write were those in authority, such as royal court or the church. No one else. We see that same era today. That same attitude. That laziness. You get people who message you. How do I become a Satanist? Well, why do you want to become a Satanist? Ask yourself that. And 9 times out of 10, it's because they either want to join the Illuminati or they want to be a part of the rich and famous. You got all these rumors on Facebook and YouTube. I want money, power, and fame. Why? So you can be like the sheep of the world? No thanks. I'd rather be who I am. Plain and simple. But that's Satanism. That's satanic witchcraft. You want to get into actual practices. Learn for yourself. Learn how to do this. Why are things set up the way they are? What is it about a pentagram that is powerful? What is it about the triangle of evocation that is so powerful? Why do people not want you to work with these beings? It's because they fear them. It's because they fear the power that radiates from them. These beings only want to make your life better. But you got to be able to meet them halfway. Think of it as a marriage. When you get into a relationship, you have to meet that person halfway. But when one person's meeting you halfway and the other is not, it doesn't really work well, does it? The same applies in satanic witchcraft. So I understand satanic witchcraft. There are 3 main principles that you need to follow. Number 1, whatever you preach, always back it up. For an example, if you're talking about a subject, say, let's say Satan, for an example. What are the references where he is found? How many can you name off right now? Talmud, Satanic Bible, angelology, demonology, Jewish Haggadah, the Mishra, Talmud, the Munich manuscript. Wow, right there. I just named off just about everything. Except for about four other grimoires that I'm not going to mention right now. Because I got plans for those down the road. Right there, I just named off everything that just backed up what I said today in this video about Satan being a Grigori, a watcher angel, who is considered the overlord, a king, a prince of the underworld. But don't take my word for it. Look into it yourself. Plain and simple. So that's the first aspect. The first principle is if you're going to talk on a subject, back it up with references. Show these references, as in, this is where I found them. This is what it says. This is where it is today. You see how they're different. For an example, you take the name Michael. Today, Michael means he who is like God in Hebrew. But yet, if you go back to cuneiform Latin, Michael means soul collector. You go back to Sanskrit, it means face of love. You see how things change over time. Now, if I had not just told you that, would you have gone out and done your own research? Look at your name. Do the research. See where yours is and how far back it goes. A lot of people go into, what's my heritage? Where am I from? Where do I hail from? Where does my family come from? Same exact thing. Do your homework. Don't take things at face value. Start with a family tree. Work your way back. The same thing goes within Satanism and Satanic witchcraft. You can see how it's transformed over the ages, from traditional to theistic to atheistic to agnostic. And nowadays, you have the duality of Christian and Satanic Satanists. And this is actually, it comes from the Christian and Satanic Bible by Jeremy Adam Capps. Very good Bible. I'll give him that. He definitely did his research on the Christian Bible, and he literally just put it in there. And he made it his own. He turned the scripture into a path working of Satanism through what he referred to as the mouth of Satan. You got books on Satan's origins. You got a book called The Autobiography of Satan. What would he say if he was here today? How would he represent himself to you? Same thing applies. But yet people take it from a Christian point of view. In the first book of Job, Satan goes into God's kingdom or another God's kingdom and says, hey, your people aren't living right for you. Right there, he's the accuser. He's accusing mankind of not living right for that specific God. And he's made out to be the bad guy. But people forget that God sent Satan after Job and his family. Said you can do whatever you want with it, but you cannot kill him. So why did Job die? How did Job die by the end of the chapter? About 3/4 into that chapter. That specific book. Because Job is one of 66 books in that Bible. And ironically, the number 66 is a part of 666, 3 score. 666. Oops. Did I just spoil the surprise for you? Oh, my bad. Because even chapter 13 in the book of Revelations talks about the whore of Babylon, with the last verse in that chapter being the mark of the beast shall be 666 three score. Oops. Again, spoiler. Christians lost. Oh well. But anyways, moving on, the second thing is you always make yourself available to the public. If you're going to preach about a specific religion, be it Wiccan, pagan, be it voodooism, Satanism, witchcraft, shamanism, you basically have stepped into the public eye. Okay? You've stepped into the public eye. Therefore, you are a public figure. You're an ambassador to your religion. You are an ambassador, a spokesperson for the group that you work with. As the founder of the Order of the Black Thorn, I represent my order. But now that my order is a part of the Embassy of Lucifer, run by Turk Suzage, and that of the Church of Lucifer, run also by Turk Suzage, I'm also a spokesperson for his order. Okay? So when I speak on things, you're damn well bet. Number one, I'm going to give references. And number two, I'm going to make myself available to you, the public. Why? Because that is my responsibility. And number three, live by what you preach. Okay? Because if you don't live by the way you preach, how can anybody respect you? Okay? And this is one of the biggest things. People who claim to be Satanists, people who claim to be Christian, but yet everybody doesn't go by what they preach. One of the biggest things I've run into over the years is Christians who are trying to force their doctrines down my throat. But yet they themselves, when you call them out on what they're doing, they block you, they run, they shut down. Because they're judging your life. But yet they're going against their very doctrine that they're going against, that they claim to follow. Satanists claim to follow the Satanic Bible, specifically the atheistic Satanists, from the Church of Satan, founded from the original Church of Satan, not the first Church of Satan, run by Laura LeVay, or that of the Werewolf Order, run by Zena LeVay and her husband, Nicholas Schreck. Okay? But I'm talking their father's foundation, as in the original San Francisco Church of Satan. They claim to follow and claim all rights associated with that, the workings from there. That's fine. But if you don't follow what you preach, if you don't learn, if you don't grow, if you want to be a hypocrite, then that's on you. Because that's showing duality. That's showing that you don't know what you're preaching. A lot of these atheistics will say, well, there's no God, there's no Satan. I am my own God. Well, if you're your own God, how do you explain the fact that even Anton Szandor LaVey was a devil worshiper? He believed in an actual devil. He admitted this in interviews, both with Bob Larson and another guy. I can't think of his name, but you can find it right here on YouTube. Okay? And here's the kicker. The 9 satanic sins. The number one sin, stupidity. You should know this if you claim to read and go by the Satanic Bible by LaVey. A lot of people hate the joy of Satan because they believe that they're Nazis. But yet, nobody listens to what they're doing within demonolatry. Yes, I have followed them. I have seen them. I actually have friends from that order. Just like I have friends from the Church of Satan, the Defenders of Satan, Satan's tribe, okay? The Embassy of Lucifer, and the Brotherhood of Satan. I've got a lot of friends from various different traditions, different styles, different paths. Not all of them are Satanists. Some of them are pagans. Some of them are neo-pagans, in fact, whereas others are shamans. Some are gypsies. Some are into Santa Morte. Others are voodoo. Okay? So I got a lot of friends. Does that make me any better than them? No. But it does come down that if you make a mistake, you got to admit to it and own accountability. Because as a spokesperson, you have to present yourself with a manner of becoming that position. Because you're no longer representing yourself as an individual solo practitioner, but you're representing an order. You're representing a foundation. Those are the three main points of running an order, specifically as a Satanist. Because Satanists live by two codes of conduct. The highest law of a Satanist is self-preservation. The second law of a Satanist is self-gratification. All things that bring you self-gratification is good for you as an individual as long as it doesn't violate the number one and most highest fallible law, self-preservation. And a lot of people don't get this. They don't even follow it. And what's ironic is Anton Zanderleve discusses this, not only in the Satanic Bible, but in Satan's Notebook, or the Devil's Notebook, in Satan Speaks. He even discusses aspects of this within the Secret Life of a Satanist. When you read The Satanic Witch, it literally points out a clock, different methods from personalities to careers, from straights to lesbians or bisexuals or whatever. Okay? But it also goes into this nowadays. I believe it came out in, what was it, 2011, I think. Don't quote me on that because I may be wrong. The Satanic Warlock. Okay? Very good book. This book is the counter at weight to the Satanic Witch. The Satanic Witch is actually for women who are into witchcraft, whereas the Satanic Warlock is more for the male practitioner of witchcraft. They kind of go hand in hand, but when you put them together, talk about a massive mind fuck. That's literally mind blowing knowledge right there. Putting those two together. When you research both of them, how to get into a persona, how to create a persona for yourself, how to get into an image, how you want to be seen, how do you want to be represented, how do you want to represent what you are. Both of these books play a huge impact. But if you want to get into satanic magic, get into Aleister Notch's stuff. That is absolutely deep. It will make you think of things. It will make you think. It will make you reflect and have not only greater insight into the outer and inner sanctum, but also the magics and the demons and the angels that go along with it. It is spectacular. But then you can go into the traditional stuff, such as the ONA's works. And you can get into the actual practices of different planes, different dimensions, getting into alchemy and herbalism, getting into actual practice. And this stuff is in depth. But you don't have to limit yourself to one style. You don't have to limit yourself to one tradition, one religion, one faith. That's bullshit propaganda. That's a method of control. That's how to control you as the individual. It's meant to keep you down. Rise above it. Let go of that stuff and grow. All right? Grow to who you are meant to be. Become the sorcerer. Become the adept. Become the magus, the high priest, representing your order, your way of doing things. It's okay to become part of a coven, as long as that coven doesn't become a cult. I've seen where covens have claimed to be the right way, but yet they themselves will be the first ones to cast stones. They'll be the first ones to label you when you step out of that coven and start learning a different tradition. And they'll just cast you aside just like a Christian. Or they'll stone you, like the Islamics. It's sad that people have to do this. But they don't control you. Only you can decide where your path takes you. That's why I recommend Michael W. Ford's work. That's why I recommend the ONA's work. That's why I recommend the works by Anton Szandor LaVey and Robert Dr. What's his name? Dr. Robert hell, I can't think of his last name, who wrote the Satanic Warlock book. Get into Turk Suzij's book, The Demonic Bible. Okay? Get into all this stuff. Start studying it, experimenting with it, and see where it takes you. And then just step out into other fields. Start learning from different organizations, different types of religions, different types of philosophies, and see where they take you. There's a lot of knowledge out there that can better you as an individual. But only you, as I said, can discern how far you take it. Only you. So this has been this video on satanic witchcraft. Hope it's been enlightening. Hope it's been educational. You can always reach out to me either here on Facebook. I'll always make myself available to you. Keep in mind that just like you, I have a job. I have family that I got to take care of. I got 3 little rugrats, little fur balls that I pay attention to as well. But I've also got my own studies and my own practices. But I will always make myself available to you. Okay? So with that said, this Dark Sorcerer is out. Enjoy. Have a good day or good evening, wherever you are in the world. And hope you keep on learning.